I outgrew you, she said right after I put her through law school. So I packed her bags and said nothing. Now she's jobless, under investigation, and I don't even remember her birthday. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. 3 years. That's how long I worked double shifts so my wife could become a lawyer. 3 years of 5 a.m. construction jobs followed by evening electrical repairs, coming home covered in sawdust and wire cuts, while Sarah studied at our kitchen table, surrounded by law books that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. I never complained. Not when she needed absolute silence for studying while I was trying to decompress from 14-hour days. Not when she started correcting my grammar at dinner parties. Not when she began introducing me as Jake. He's in construction, with that little pause that made it sound like I collected garbage for a living. You're going to be amazing, babe, I'd tell her after particularly brutal study sessions, rubbing her shoulders while she stressed about constitutional law. I believe in you. I couldn't do this without you, Jake, she'd say, leaning back against me. When I graduate, things will be different. We'll finally be able to breathe. I thought different meant better. I thought it meant we'd start the family we'd talked about, maybe buy a house with the money we'd been saving while I carried all our expenses. I thought it meant I could finally cut back to one job and spend time with my wife again. The graduation ceremony was everything I'd imagined. My parents drove 4 hours to be there, treating Sarah like the daughter they'd never had. My mom cried during the ceremony. My dad, a mechanic who'd worked with his hands his entire life, beamed with pride as Sarah walked across that stage. I'm so proud of you, I told her afterward, exhausted but happy. We did it. She pulled back from my hug slightly. I did it, Jake. I passed the bar. The correction stung, but I figured she was just overwhelmed. Law school stress, new chapter in life, all that. Sarah had always been driven, and now she was finally seeing the fruits of her labor. Our labor. The job at Morrison, Kane & Associates came through 2 weeks later. Prestigious firm downtown, exactly what Sarah had dreamed of. She started immediately, diving into the work with an intensity that made her law school focus look casual. How was your day? I'd ask when she came home at 9, 10, sometimes 11 at night. You wouldn't understand, she'd say, not looking up from her phone. It's a different world than this. She'd gesture vaguely around our apartment, the same apartment where she'd studied for 3 years, where I'd made her coffee every morning before my early shifts. The changes started small. Designer suits that cost more than my monthly truck payment. Expensive lunches with colleagues. A new vocabulary filled with words like sophisticated, refined, and professional standards. She'd mention names from work constantly. Richard this, Richard that. Richard was a senior partner, apparently. Richard had a house in the Hamptons. Richard understood the pressures of high-stakes litigation. Richard says associates need to project success to be taken seriously, she explained when I questioned the credit card bills. Image matters in this business. I was fixing our kitchen sink with duct tape when she finally decided to destroy my world. Sarah walked in at midnight, designer heels clicking against our cheap linoleum floor. I was on my back under the sink, flashlight in my mouth, trying to stop a leak that had been dripping for weeks. Jake, can we talk? Her voice had that careful tone people use when they're about to deliver bad news. I feel like we're drifting apart. I slid out from under the sink, wiping my hands on an old towel. Okay, what about us? Jake, I've been thinking about our relationship, about where we are. She sat down at our kitchen table, the same table where she'd written her law school essays. I've outgrown this. I've outgrown us. The words hit me like a physical blow. What do you mean? Look around. Look at yourself. Her voice was calm, clinical. You're fixing a sink with duct tape while I'm building a career with people who own multiple homes. We're in completely different worlds now. I've been working 2 jobs so I could what? Stay trapped here. She interrupted, gesturing around our modest apartment like it was a prison cell. Jake, I need someone who matches my ambition. Someone who can keep up with where I'm going. Where you're going. We plan this together. Your career, our future. No, Jake. You plan this. I just let you. But I met someone who actually gets my world. The bottom dropped out of my stomach. You met someone? Richard is a senior partner. He's sophisticated, successful. He shows me what life can actually be like when you're not worried about duct taping everything together. Richard, the married guy you've been mentioning? He's getting divorced. Look, I'm not trying to hurt you, but I can't pretend we're compatible anymore. I need intellectual stimulation, not someone who thinks Red Lobster is fine dining. I stood there, still holding the greasy towel, trying to process what I was hearing. The woman I'd supported through 3 years of law school, who I'd worked myself into exhaustion for, was telling me I wasn't good enough for her new life. So what are you saying? I'm saying I'm moving in with Richard next weekend. I'm saying this was never going to work long term. We're just different people now. Different people. After 3 years of marriage, after everything I'd sacrificed, I was suddenly a different person. Not the person she'd promised to love through better or worse, just someone who'd outlived his usefulness. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't ask her to reconsider or suggest counseling or promise to change. I just nodded and went back to fixing the sink. She was gone by morning. The calls started immediately. First my mom. Jake, honey, Sarah's mother called. She's devastated. What happened between you two? She left, Mom. Found someone better. But you two were perfect together. You supported her through everything. Maybe you should fight for her. Show her what she's losing. Mom, she told me I'm beneath her now. What am I supposed to fight for? Don't give up so easily. She's probably just stressed from the new job. Maybe couples therapy. I'd have the same conversation with my dad, my sister, even my coworkers. Everyone had an opinion about what I should do to win Sarah back. Everyone except Sarah, who seemed perfectly happy with her new life. Sarah's sister called a week later. Jake, you have to understand, Sarah's under a lot of pressure at work. I understand perfectly. She made a mistake. She's not thinking clearly. You two have history. And she made her choice. I'm not going to beg someone to want me. But I did pack her remaining things. Carefully, methodically. Her books, her photos, the coffee mug I'd bought her during her first year of law school, with future lawyer printed on the side. I loaded everything into boxes and drove them to her new office building downtown. I left them with the security guard and a note. Your things. Congratulations on your new life. Then I did something I'd never been able to do during our marriage. I focused on myself. I enrolled in night business classes at the community college. Started seeing a therapist to work through the betrayal and the feeling that 3 years of my life had been a lie. I stopped working double shifts and put that extra energy into building my own electrical contracting business. When people asked about Sarah, I'd just say, she's doing well, and change the subject. I didn't badmouth her, didn't explain what had happened, didn't seek sympathy. I just moved forward. 8 months later, my cousin mentioned something interesting at Sunday dinner. Didn't your ex-wife work at Morrison, Kane & Associates? Yeah, why? My friend works in their building. Says there's some big scandal going on over there. Something about a partner having affairs with multiple associates. I didn't ask for details. Sarah's life wasn't my concern anymore. But the details found me anyway. Richard's wife had hired a private investigator. Not just because of Sarah, but because she'd suspected multiple affairs over the years. The evidence was overwhelming. Hotel receipts, text messages, emails discussing how to manipulate young associates who were eager to advance their careers. The firm's human resources department launched an investigation. Richard's behavior created a hostile work environment, potentially exposing the firm to lawsuits. He'd been using his position to coerce associates into relationships with promises of career advancement. Sarah got fired for unprofessional conduct. The Bar Association opened an ethics review. Richard, in a desperate attempt to save his partnership, threw her under the bus completely, claiming she pursued him aggressively and that he'd tried to maintain appropriate boundaries. The restraining order Sarah filed against Richard made the local legal journal. Apparently, when his wife decided not to divorce him after all, Richard had become unstable, alternating between trying to win Sarah back and blaming her for ruining his career. The text messages started arriving 2 weeks after she lost her job. Jake, I made a terrible mistake. Can we talk? I deleted it without responding. I know you hate me, but I need to explain what really happened. Delete. Richard lied to me about everything. I was so stupid. Delete. I lost my job. I lost everything. I know I don't deserve it, but I need help. Delete. Your mom said you won't take my calls. Please, just 5 minutes. My mom had indeed been fielding calls from Sarah. She sounds desperate, honey. Maybe you should at least hear her out. Mom, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them. She showed me. Delete. The messages became more frequent, then stopped entirely. I assumed she'd given up, moved on, maybe left town. I was busy anyway. My electrical business was growing faster than I'd expected, and I'd started dating Emma, a teacher I'd met in my business class. She was kind, supportive, and had never once made me feel like I needed to apologize for who I was. Life was good. Better than good, actually. For the first time in years, I felt like I was living for myself instead of trying to prove I was worthy of someone else's love. My cousin's wedding was on a Saturday in June. Beautiful ceremony at a country club outside town. Exactly the kind of place Sarah used to say we couldn't afford but would someday attend as members, not just guests. Emma looked stunning in a blue dress that complemented her natural warmth. We were talking to some old friends during cocktail hour when I saw her. Sarah stood by the bar, looking smaller somehow. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by a simple black dress that had seen better days. Her hair was shorter, less polished. She looked tired in a way that went beyond just being sleepy. She spotted me across the room, and I watched her steel herself before walking over. "Jake, you look good." "Sarah." I nodded briefly, then turned back to Emma. "Have you tried the shrimp? It's excellent. Can I talk to you for a minute?" "Privately." Emma squeezed my hand gently. "I'll grab us fresh drinks." She walked away with the grace of someone who understood social situations without needing them explained. "I know you probably hate me," Sarah started. "I don't hate you, Sarah. I made such a huge mistake. Richard was using me, manipulating me. I lost everything. My job, my license is under review, my reputation is destroyed." I heard. "That's unfortunate." She stared at me, clearly expecting more reaction. Sympathy, maybe, or anger she could work with. "Jake, I know I hurt you, but what we had was real. We could try again. I understand now what really matters. Success, money, status, none of it means anything without someone who truly cares about you. What we had ended when you decided I wasn't good enough for your new life. But I was wrong. I see that now. You're successful, you built your own business. You're exactly what I thought I wanted, just in a different package. Sarah, I'm not the same person you left. And honestly, neither are you. What does that mean? It means I don't think about you anymore. I don't wonder what if, I don't miss what we had. You're just someone I used to know." Her face crumpled slightly. "That's it. After everything we went through together, after everything, I learned that when someone shows you who they really are, you believe them. You showed me exactly who you are when things got difficult. You showed me that 3 years of marriage meant less to you than a few months of feeling important." Emma returned with our drinks, slipping naturally back into our conversation circle. She smiled warmly, completely comfortable in her own skin, radiating the kind of contentment that doesn't need expensive clothes or prestigious job titles to validate itself. "Everything okay?" she asked, glancing between us. "Perfect," I said, taking my drink in her hand. "Emma, I'd like you to meet Sarah. We used to be married. Sarah, this is Emma, my girlfriend." Sarah's eyes moved between us, taking in the easy affection, the natural way Emma fit beside me, the obvious happiness that didn't require performance or pretense. I could see her calculating, comparing, realizing she was looking at the life she could have had if she'd valued what I offered instead of chasing what she thought she deserved. "It was nice seeing you, Sarah," I said. "I hope things work out for you." I didn't wait for her response. Emma and I walked away to find our table, and I didn't look back. Later, during the reception, I caught a glimpse of Sarah leaving early, alone. She walked past our table without looking over, her shoulders curved in defeat. Emma noticed me watching. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said and meant it. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." 3 years later, I got a wedding invitation from my cousin's friend. Inside was a note. "Sarah moved to Portland last year. Thought you should know she's doing okay, working at a small firm, seems to have learned from her mistakes." I threw the invitation away without reading the wedding details. I didn't need to know how Sarah was doing. I didn't need closure or updates or proof that karma had run its course. I'd already moved on completely. That night, Emma and I made dinner together in the kitchen of the house I'd built with my own business. We talked about our weekend plans, about the vacation we were planning, about the ring I'd been secretly shopping for. It occurred to me that I couldn't remember Sarah's birthday. Not the date, Not what we used to do to celebrate it. Nothing. She'd become exactly what I'd told her at the wedding, someone I used to know. And I was perfectly fine with that. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.